asked, what is trauma? So, Deepak, are there different kinds of trauma? What does it, is it like an umbrella of terms, or is it anything we can pinpoint at?
Generally speaking, till now, 7 kind of traumas have been identified. And I'll just name all of them here. One is a well-known term, PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. And this comes from an experience. This PTSD is something which doesn't happen overnight. It will come after various experiences of a similar kind. If you have that, trauma becomes like a huge, it's something like a huge pile of scrap which you carry on your head. So these various experiences lead to that. Now, till every year, so which is where I want to break that myth of 5 to 7 to 14 years. Every year, maybe there are millions affected every year with the PTSD alone. So that is the kind of requirement in terms of the PTSD. So there are millions affected. Trauma is an emotional response to a surprising and terrible event. Of course, trauma doesn't happen because you know something is going to happen and then it happens. So like even if someone gives you a bad news, you have this chance of losing a soul part, right? So that is also something which you do when you are in a shock. So millions of affected each year. Symptoms surface months after the event. What generally the symptoms are: intrusive thoughts, avoidance, behavioral changes, cognitive disturbances. Cognitive means anything like you generally it will be known that you're taking too much of stress, you're not reacting in the desired manner, your reactions would be different, behavior would be different. Poor emotional regulation, which means if someone gives you like that lady, she was basically a PTSD. You could react in a different way. Panic attacks, panic bursts. This is some of the ways where you can look at it. Self-critic, big time. Then running away from situations, running away from even discussing that trauma, well, what happened, how it happened. So even running away from that. The relationship issue is big time, because God forbid if the trauma is related to some sexual trauma or anything, molestation, then of course it immediately reflects onto the opposite. Anybody from the opposite sex will get stuck. So this is what one trauma is all about. The first starting trauma is ASD, which is the acute stress disorder. Immediately after the trauma develops, so it becomes an ASD, the acute stress disorder, and ASD becomes a PTSD later. So ASD is the first symptom which you will start seeing. Second is this ASD. So third is second-hand trauma. Now people like us, people like doctors, people like medical staff, generally people who handle emergencies, even road workers, railway, those people who carry the bodies, unfortunately, which are met with an accident and things like that. So all people who are in these kind of services have a secondary trauma. Now, it's known as second-hand trauma because, like, for example, if I listen to 10 people every day giving me their, so I will also carry them somewhere, which is why we do a lot of clearing, we maybe do a lot of grounding so that we don't get attached to those situations. It is not their karma, I would repeat, because there's a lot of misconception saying that if I do a healing, someone says negative karma will come to me. No, that is not someone else's negative karma. It is just your own inner consciousness or the inner child which just comes up with this. Oh, if you were in the same position, what would happen? So that kind of examples will start coming to you. So just that's the second-hand trauma. The fourth is RAD. So if I really look at it, ASD, PTSD, ASD, second-hand trauma can be today also in any age that can happen. the main inner child healing would, or rather, say the ones which create the inner child problems from this 5 years to 14 years is the following: RAD, reactive attachment disorder. This is basically for children who are affected by divorce, transferring jobs, like any people who are transferring every 2 years, and their schools change, their everybody around them changes, schools, tuition mates, your
Yeah.
people, everybody changes. So they have this withdrawal symptom. They have no faith in anybody, cannot take authority, they lack confidence. This is one part of it where they withdraw. Now there is another which is known as disinhibited social engagement disorder. Here, so the RAD people are withdrawn. The DACD people, children, so to say, they are the ones who are more aggressive. They will, be even maybe the bullying people. So the RAD children will get bullied. The DACD will be bullying. They will be more aggressive. They will be rebellious. And these two can also get affected by fraudulent people. So people who do frauds and these, so they give you huge stories about schemes. So they always, they are vulnerable. They just want love, and that will just ensure that they will get into any kind of thing, and they will lose their money also. They will lose their relationships also. So that is generally a situation. So these are two basically which come into the inner child, happen during this 5 to 14 years, generally speaking. Now, so these are 5. Sixth is adjustment disorder. For example, if I left a job, I joined a new company, like 7 months back, I shifted to this new society. So my adjustment here is a adjustment disorder. So till the time I adjust in the society, I adjust in the new job. Maybe I'm going to a different city. Maybe I'm going to a different country. So these are also something called adjustment disorders. These are temporary. The moment you say that, okay, I'm adjusted here, done. I'm here, I'm done. Everything is sorted out. So it just goes away. Otherwise, it has a tendency to maybe become a bigger issue. Like, for example, a lot of people I have come across who think that they are from some other galaxy or some other maybe star galaxy or whatever you call it. So they feel we are aliens here. So for them, this will be so that this is basically adjustment disorder will also apply to them. And the last one is basically the other and unspecified trauma and stress related disorders. So that's a mix of everything. So there may be some disorders, so maybe 2, 3 will be put together. For example, PTSD and RAD would be mixed. So that will become your 7th disorder. Now, where does the trauma come from? Right? So the trauma is basically our brain has something called the amygdala. It is a bean-shaped this thing. So amygdala is technically known as the heart of the brain. So this amygdala is at the center of all emotions. All emotions basically amygdala is the one who is basically accepting all these informations. And what is affected because of this trauma is the 5 viscerals. The 5 viscerals, which are known as the lung. So the lung is affected by sadness and grief. The heart, just hold your breath for a moment. The heart is affected by happiness, which is the first damager of heart, which I will maybe speak about tomorrow on that further. So happiness is the biggest creator of heart attacks because it gives you an imbalance. It kind of gives you a rise to an expectation, an obsession, and you become too, maybe, getting into a comfort zone and all that kind of stuff. Then heart also is affected by a lot of procrastination. You have a lot of people affected by procrastination. They do overthinking, a lot of overthinking, So as I remember, Osho I saw one of his 99% of the battlefield is fought in the brain. Because only 1% actual fights happen, 99% are fought in the brain, and you already prepare a strategy, core strategy, plan A, plan B, plan C, nothing happened. Kuch bhi nahi hua yaar. So overthinking. So procrastination, sadness, grief, these are the ones affecting heart. Then you have got liver. Liver is affected by anger, which is, if you see anger, which is why we say let go. Otherwise, you will have gastric issues, you will have digestion issues and things like that. Spleen is affected by, liver is affected by anger. Spleen, which is also visceral, is affected by procrastination, overthinking, which is why you end up into bloating, fatigue, shortness of breath. With the lungs, then with the spleen, it's all about bloating, gas. So as they say, a lot of gas is there. So you're releasing a lot of anger from your liver. Then you have kidney, which is the base of fears. So fear is basically kidney, knees. So anything which, so even cancer, if you have frequent bouts of insomnia, urinary tract infection, these are all coming from palpitations, neurological imbalances like sciatica nerve issue generally happens when you reach an age. Then panic, stress. So these all happen because of fear, which is affecting your kidneys and also your knees. So like the anger, heat, cold and numbness, headache, hypertension is affected, is the symptom due to anger. Happiness, the anger is affecting heart, agitation and overstimulation, overexcitement, which is where you kind of, it's something like, you lose your balance and you end up making a mistake and then you go into a trauma. So procrastination, lack of concentration, digestive issues, bloating, sadness or grief, anxiety, basically fatigue, shortness of breath, brain fog. If you have a lot of grief, anxiety, brain fog is a common issue which happens. So insomnia, palpitations, muscle cramp. Even I was a bit surprised that how can grief, anxiety lead to muscle cramp, but it does. Because it is finally, ultimately the system which is carrying you. So this is all about the trauma and how it affects our body.
Fantastic, Deepak. I think we can continue this a little further. You have created a really fantastic screen for us with what more can get affected. Before that, Deepak, just to confirm what you shared with us, Shachi had asked, so can a trauma manifest in physical ailments like kidney stones, inflammation in the body, etc.?
That is what it
And
is.
yeah, and sorry. So just saying that, so the Debushish also asked that by inner child healing, we can also, it will also help in healing physical health issues.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I'll tell you my example. Maybe, that is where my example comes into the play. Because
absolutely. We would love to hear your story, Deepak.
So when I downloaded this in 2020, April 24th, I remember the date exactly. 24th April, this was the first month of the lockdown, or rather the second month. First month, sorry. Maybe the second running month. So second running month of the lockdown. And April 24th, I just had a download. So I just saw some process coming, and where it came from. 2018, I had visited some orphanages and some old age homes. And there, I saw the kind of apathy, the kind of despair, this feeling where they were feeling very alone. And the moment they see us, they would become so happy, and I was making them do some exercises, breathing exercises, some grounding exercises. So I was just trying to, and maybe my wife was also used to go there regularly. So she would make them happy, tell them a joke or something, and something like that. So kind of we used to create a good atmosphere there. But the moment we are back again out, then they would again get into the same trauma. And even in orphanages, if you look at the children, at least the old people are able to voice themselves. The children may not be able to voice themselves also, poor things. So I saw the kind of despair which was there in 2018-19. I used to regularly visit those orphanages and old age homes. And there I had a thought, why not we do something where we can heal them? heal them of this trauma. I know I cannot do anything to everybody, of course, but at least let's get something which I can heal their trauma. So somewhere 2018-19, what I had put an intention manifested in 2020, April 24th. 27th, I did my own healing, and within 2 minutes of my healing, and the process which I have is that for example, I was that time 52, so 52nd running year. So I just got my energy body in front of me, including all the cellular memory. So cellular are 60 to 84 trillion cells, and even the 72,000 nadis get healed with this for that particular year. So for example, in my 52nd year, if I've gone, which will be from maybe 2019 August till 2020 April, whatever, 7, 8, 9 months, all that I have gone through in this period, which is the trauma of the, or rather the fear of the pandemic. So I released that first. That is how when I started releasing, I went down, and I was, every year, I was just having acidic burps after burps after burps after burps. 1.5 hours it took me for doing my healing complete. For full 1.5 my mouth was completely white with acid. So that much of acid was there inside me, which got released. And so when I went to a doctor, so there was some, anyway, I'll come to that later. So even experiences where my mother passed away when I was 15, my father passed away when I was 29, that trauma I released of separation and trauma of losing someone. एक बोलते हैं ना कि someone means your someone आपका जो parent जाता है, तो that pain I'm sure, God forbid, anybody has to go through. But that trauma I released. I also released one more thing. When I was 12 years, I went into that time Waikiki used to be a very, that video games parlor hota tha. WIKI. So I was very kind of addicted to that, 12, 13 years. So I remember one particular day where I was in this Waikiki parlor. Remember me, after the healing, I remembered during that healing period, I saw that vision. So it was stuck into my vision. I'll tell you why. When I was doing, playing, I was very, very happy, 12, 13 years old, that, okay, I killed someone or whatever. I drove a tank. So I won that game and things like that. So I was very happy. So some person standing behind me, he also joined me. Arey, very good beta, very good beta. So first, I didn't really realize what was happening. But this guy was completely came and literally stood behind me. So I don't know, he was doing something where, that, of course, that time we didn't have the good touch, bad touch sort of situation. So even that memory got released from me. Imagine where my inner child was carrying that. Although it was not a traumatic as such, as with a, inverted comma, but that thing still got released. So which is where I said, what kind of in-depth it is going. And like my mother had some limited beliefs and all that, everything we released. We also had a lot of karmic issues, like a lot of, ancestral issues on the DNA. Even that got released to a major extent. We used to always struggle to reach any situation to get our results. So that struggling part, I released from the DNA part. So it was just something which was stuck into our DNA also. So even that got released. So I can, as I said, go on and on and on and on and on and on.
Absolutely. And
but that was a life changer for me.
Life changer. And Deepak, this is so optimistic and this is so hopeful. I would like to share with everybody that whatever Deepak has been sharing, we can actually experience this with him, and we can also learn this from him to do this for ourselves, our family members, our children, and clients. And I'd like to quickly do a recap till what we have reached so far. Inner child is nothing but from our childhood to our early teens, whatever has happened at that time and even before that, right from the mother's womb, they stay with us until they are healed, until they have been taken care of. As Deepak mentioned, We don't even know what all we are holding and what all need to be released. So, Deepak, thank you for sharing these fabulous
Thank you.
stories. And just to confirm what Nikita had asked, so these inner child traumas, they affect our chakras. And does it indicate which chakra needs healing? And is it related to any particular body part?
See, as I said, the trauma, depending on what it is, amygdala is definitely the center of it all. And then you have the viscerals. So you will have maybe bloating issues. You'll have maybe heart related some imbalance, or maybe lungs related like asthma due to a lot of attachments and things like that. So these are all reflective, which I just mentioned about. So any or every maybe of it is affected. You never know.
Right.
So it all depends upon each person to person, situation to situation. There is nothing generic that it will affect the kidney. Yeah, if it is fear, I would say immediately look at the kidney, the function of the kidney. Maybe it will not, if it will not, release properly. Maybe the kidney stone, which someone mentioned, yes, it gets created because of that. Asthma gets created because of that. So I would talk about anything which is a dis-ease. Somewhere it is coming because of the healing which is required. Now, there are people who get their chakras healed every month, 2 month, 3 month, they feel again it is imbalanced. So somewhere that inner child is pulling. So I cannot say for sure that only this chakra, but definitely one thing is sure that the solar plexus chakra for sure, and the sacral chakra, because certain people even in their discussion will talk about I'm surviving well, I'm doing well, I'm surviving well. So even that word talks about that they are not living their life, they're surviving. So this is definitely and even their imbalances. So I would talk about maybe nearly all the chakras will have some of the other imbalance.
Right.
Because maybe their throat, they will not be able to voice themselves. So the throat will be there. Stress and anxiety, the third eye. The crown chakra is basically not having faith in yourself, not in the divine, your intuition itself. So that itself is an imbalance. So I would say maybe all are maybe one or two or three, depending on the situation. But each person would be generic. It is a generic way of saying that only this chakra. No, all are maybe 2, 3 can get affected depending on the situation, depending on what you're going through. But 100% amygdala will be 100% will be responsible for this.
Absolutely. And Deepak, continuing, I'm going to share my screen. If you can quickly recap or cover whatever aspects you have not yet covered about what all can happen because of trauma. And of course, they can
You're muted. Shilpa, you're muted. Yeah, surprising impacts of inner child trauma that can be healed too. Yes, so these are basically recurring health issues. Recurring health issues means basically you go to a doctor and you keep getting the cold, you keep getting maybe kidney stone comes regularly to some people, or then or maybe something like asthma, which keeps coming every cold season, or maybe during the pollution high days. Conflicts in relationship, attracting negative kinds of people is basically again a situation where, for example, you kind of attract these people who kind of give you a plastic love. And that also talks about falling prey to fraudsters regularly, repeatedly. Fraudsters can be in relationship, can be in money, can be in like finance, or even jobs for that matter. Like even if you are every time bullied by your boss, so maybe it is not a fraudster, but ultimately you are being bullied by the boss also. Saying no is a problem to you. You always say yes and then end up being into a trouble. Indecision, stuck in career or any aspect of life, maybe getting married, not able to take responsibility, not able to take challenges, not able to stand up for your own requirements, for your own expectations. Something like, as they say, chicken feet, or rather, I don't know whether I'm using the right word.
Cold feet.
Cold feet, sorry. Chicken feet.
Yeah.
Maybe time for dinner. Come on. So cold feet, yes. Cold feet is the right word. So developing cold feet. These are the kind of things which come up from your inner child issues, for sure. And procrastination is a big, I was a big procrastinator. My God, I used to fight battles. I used to fight with everybody. End of the day, kuch nahi hua. I was only fighting myself internally. I used to think about my reviews there. My boss will going to kill me. I have not done this properly. I have not done that properly. I'm preparing all the slides. Everything is gadbad. Baad mein suddenly laptop ud gaya. Something gadbad. More stress. And, the boss ultimately would tell me, Deepak, you have done a good job. I said, why was I creating so much of issues within my? And this is a pattern because some people, I think they expect that gadbadi hoga. So that is a self-critic we call. So people who are not very happy with themselves, not taking up responsibility is a big, like particularly today. I'm sorry, not talking about any particular generation, but yes, you have got living relationships. So even a lot of people don't want to get married and things like that. So that's again becoming another maybe the big thing to speak about. West is becoming more marriage oriented. There we are becoming more living related. So anyway, these are all trauma related things which are just showing up. Addictions, of course, big time. Addictions. I have one case to share. Maybe there was this. I will not name the person. A very famous film star, I would say. That he, like his daughter, and so basically they were all settled in USA. So this child was 8 years old that time, and so when I was healing, he had an addiction, drug addiction. So I healed him from the 31st year, going down. On the 11th year, I saw that he took to drugs around 11th year of his life, which she confirmed, mother confirmed. And then when I reached 9th year, I said that some trauma hit him. 8th and 9th year is one thing which has made him very traumatic. She said, "Oh yes, I remember. The second child was conceived in the 8th year and delivered in the 9th year. So he kind of got maybe a lot of people will tell you, "Arey, abhi tumhara raj karne ka time gaya." You are like born. The new boy will take precedence. Everybody will love that child and things like that. So he took so much of trauma, this thing for that he took to drugs immediately. So I healed him 2 years back. He was not on a job till 29 years of his age, 30 years that time. Now he's 32. So after my healing, he has taken a job. He's even launching a music app or something, which he keeps working on. Although he is not 100% given up drugs because it's something like, but he's meaningful. He has become meaningful because in USA, the problem is that it has been very easily available. So it kind of, so a second session is on with it. And in that, we will clear it. So what happens is that in his case, I did a healing which was not in his awareness because his mother and I did it for the highest good. So there was a good 60 to 70% difference which we saw in him. And now we will do the second healing, and most probably that should turn up in a better, make it even better. And in fact, he's going steady with a girl unless now he's studying with a girl, maybe they're getting married also. So some scheme of things have started moving forward for him, which the life was stuck. He's a drug addict. That the life ended there itself. So he's got some meaning, purposeful in his life. There was a lady who was like, she faced a lot of traumas in her childhood, not faced molestation and even gender bias, too much of it. She was unwanted kind of a child, similar to that lady. But this lady was, like she would do these very frivolous relationships outside. So frivolous means not knowingly. She just gets into a relationship and just walk out of that relationship also. Not that she would get serious, but it was a kind of a knack. So just to get into anybody giving her a good talk or something, she would just fall for that, and then she will walk out also. So such kind of behavior also reflects sometimes. So I'm just telling you, these are life cases, purely life cases, which I'm sharing. So yeah.
Absolutely, Deepak. These are like huge breakthroughs. I mean, these are not like small issues. They are like long-standing issues, and these are great progresses. So, Deepak, Shachi had asked that you just mentioned about healing, that they did not tell the person that they were being healed. So is it possible? Is it required to get the confirmation of the person, or can we heal somebody without letting them know?
Without letting them know, we can do it for the highest good.
Highest good.
And anyway, here the highest good is not that you want, basically we want him to be abundant, that person to be abundant. So abundance in the sense, whatever issues that person is carrying in his trauma is he or she is carrying, we can release that trauma and it will help make him a better human being. So that is something. So that is something which is for the highest good, and I have done it. And this is all, I always do anything which is I ask basically my masters, and of course the soul also gives concession. So basically soul is also accepting these healings, so it is done. I'm not doing any karmic imbalance or something to that person.
Wonderful, Deepak. That's really good to know, especially for people who are not yet ready or we cannot discuss anything in them. Wonderful. Deepak,